that's about it.
Okay, just to let everyone know, we are recording the meeting and we do that to make video podcasts. And we are also live streaming the meeting to our Pi YouTube page. Sorry about that. That was the live stream starting, and so you could hear it through the speakers. Sorry, Jerry, were you finished?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do we see anybody else who, while we're waiting, let me just put in the chat the Pi candidates page. So I just put a link in the chat, and that's where you can read Jerry's kind of CV and the other three candidates, Van Zek, Diana King, George Hogeman, and Raju Tanape. And if later today in the meeting, any of them join the meeting, I'll give them an opportunity also. So Jerry, thanks so much for putting your hat in the ring to help the Pi board go forward.
Sure,
Oops.
thank you.
And let's see what else about the Pi election that we have coming up. Gabe, are there any other announcements about the Pi election we should make? Oh, the election period, I guess, right?
Right, the election period, the process for voting, where people will get a link to the ballot, and the urgency of voting in an election where the number of nominees equals the number of positions.
Yeah, we have actually 5 openings and 5 candidates. For the first time, we're actually using a Google form for the election. And I was commissioned to try to find an easy kind of non-programming way to let people coming to vote to be able to party line, so to speak, click 1 to vote for all. But at this point, you'll have to vote for all the candidates that you would like to be on the Pi board. Oh, it looks like Diana King is entering the meeting, is coming into the meeting, and she is one of the, another one of the candidates. Diana?
Hello.
Diana, what we've been doing is just asking people who are going to be on the ballot for the Pi board election coming up to just introduce themselves and talk about their interest in the Pi. So you have the floor.
Oh, gosh, I wasn't expecting to have to speak today. Sorry. Golly, what can I say? I've been around the Pi for a long time. I've served as an officer, president and secretary. I've helped with various things like rewriting the bylaws, and I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have the Pi in my life. So I'm hoping to be reelected to the board and continue to hang out with my friends from the Pi. And if you want to put me back on the board, I'd be very grateful. I guess that's about it.
Boy, what a great endorsement and statement. Thanks so much, Diana. Oh, so what I was saying is that we're using a Google form for the Pi ballot. So what we'll be doing, Roy will send out to the Join It membership, which is a fuller list of the Pi members right now than our Apple Pi email list. And he'll be sending out probably today, I think, or tomorrow, a link to the Google form for the ballot. And so then you'll have an opportunity to visit the Pi form and to cast your votes in the coming week. So this is another Pi form, not unlike the attendance list that we have, which I'll next put into the chat for everybody to do that. If I'm organized enough, by the end of the meeting, we'll do a door prize from the people who sign into the Pi Attend. Anne, did you have something to say?
Yes, I do. I wanted to say that even though there are 5 positions and 5 people who are running for the board, and it may seem like, well, you know, they're going to get in, right? What I want to say is this is a board, this is a strong, strong board, and this board deserves our attention to confirm them into these positions. And I urge everyone to take a minute to go ahead and put your stamp on this board. And if I can figure out how to do that today, I'm going to do it. So thank you. And thank you to everybody who's running. And I thank the people. I know some people withdrew, and you know, and it just shows how many people really love the Pi and want to support it. And aren't we fortunate?
Thank you.
Do you know, Anne is one of the people who has done Pi testimonials that are on our YouTube page. Anne, I wish I could, you know, bottle what you've said over time, because it so buoys me and the other people who are running the Pi. I can't thank you enough.
I'm on YouTube. Oh no. Well, yes. Well, it's just that this organization is just so cool. Look at, I mean, if half of the organizations I'm on had 1/10 of the enthusiasm of this organization, we'd be farther along in revolutionizing the world. So onward.
Yeah, so the people who are actually on the YouTube will have to mute that page for the sound not to come back to this meeting.
I don't know why they call that thing chocolate. It doesn't have any chocolate in it. Maybe they're thinking white chocolate, which to me is a fraud anyway.
Oh, I also wanted to recognize a former Diana has preceded, been a Pi president, and also attending the meeting today is Ken Goldman, who was the Pi president preceding me. Good morning, Ken, and thanks for joining our meeting. And Ken has his original gray Pi polo.
Yeah, and I've got my I have my mug. So you can see, there it is.
Oh.
Okay, I've got all my paraphernalia. Good morning. Greetings from New Hampshire. Everyone still sits 6 feet back from your monitor. I have COVID, and fortunately, through the wonders of modern science, I've been double boosted, and between that and I started taking the antiviral medicine a couple of days ago, I can honestly say that I've had colds that were worse than this, and I really credit the people who developed those vaccines. They may not stop it, but they sure do protect you from the worst of it. So,
did you take Paxlovid?
I am in the process. I am.
Excellent. So make sure you take the full 5
of
days
course. Well, definitely, yeah. So I'm 2.5 days in, and the only thing side effect that I see from Paxlovid is it gives you this metallic taste in your mouth, which is something I exhibited many years ago when I used to get I had chemo at one time about 37 years ago, and it just brings back memories of that. So everything tastes a little metallic, but
that'll go away.
Say it kicked in. It seemed to kick in very quickly. My congestion went away right away. My sore throat went away. I mean, I feel almost totally fine. So, should you test positive, call your doctor, get the Paxlovid. It works really well. And, these are just, can't say too much about the wonders of medical science and this COVID thing. It's really served me well. And if you haven't gotten all your boosters, stay boosted, stay on top of your vaccines. It can be the difference between having something that's no more than a light cold or something that can kill you. So, personal testimonial.
Thanks so much, Ken. And everyone, I wanted to introduce you to my brother, Joel Bernstein, who retired as a medical person and has strong opinions about this. But anyway, welcome to the meeting this morning, Joel.
Thank you.
It looks like Van Zeck is joining our meeting, and so soon I'll ask him to talk. Oh, I also wanted to recognize Bruce Brown, everyone, and I hope you all know Bruce. Bruce is our encyclopedic Apple person, and he brings so much to the Pi. And so when he's been out taking care of some personal stuff, we've really, really missed him. Bruce, thanks so much for coming to the meeting today.
Well, you're welcome. I try to make it when I can and hope everybody understands when I can't be there. But things are all the leading indicators, as they say in the financial biz, are in the positive or good direction. So everything's going well, or as good as anyone could hope or expect. So thanks again.
Glad to hear that, Bruce. Thanks. Van, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Uh,
Arriving late.
Okay, Van, what we've been doing is I've been giving people who are on the candidates for the Pi board a time to introduce themselves and talk about their candidacy. So would you like to take a minute?
Sure, I can do that. My name is Van Zeck, last name Z-E-C-K. So when you vote, you want to vote in reverse alphabetical order. That'd be step number one. And beyond that, you don't have to do anything else. Actually, I've been, I'd be honored to be elected to the Pi board if that's what happens. Try to do the best I can to help out with the Pi meetings and the organization as well. Been a Mac user ever since I retired back in 2012, and haven't looked back. It's been a good experience, and I'm actually a pretty big fan of Apple and all things Apple, or most things Apple anyway. So vote early.
All right, thanks so much, Van. And everyone, I wanted to be sure you knew that Van has been our superstar YouTube video how-to fellow. And in fact, I wanted to commission you, Van, to do yet another one. At our last afternoon learners meeting, one of the things we talked about is the need to change your AirDrop to contacts or off if you're ever on a plane or a train. And the urgency to do this is something we've been talking about for a long time. But a recent article that came out was about a plane that was grounded because some idiot was sending pictures around to people who had AirDrop open. So Van, this would be showing people the two ways of changing the AirDrop settings. The easiest through the control panel, the pull down or the pull up, depending on your phone, and pressing on cellular to expose the AirDrop settings. And the other is just to go to settings and finding the AirDrop settings there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yep. I think, is it true? It is, I guess there's a refinement of that having to do with how you have AirDrop set up, whether it's for contacts only or for whether you'll accept anything from everyone. But so.
You know,
I think on the plane, people had to accept the airdrop though.
right. The problem, I think, is that if people aren't expecting it, they see this pop up, and it looks like on the plane about half the people didn't, and they were the ones who knew not to, and the
Right.
others did, not knowing.
Exactly.
So I see if Aaron Davis is in the meeting. Aaron, about this, I wanted to ask one question. I don't know if you could help here, because for some time, one of the things we've been talking about in sending Apple feedback is for the airdrop setting to automatically, after a time, fall back to contacts or off if it's set by someone to everyone. Do you think that might be in the works sometime? Is that something that we could all try to promote even more?
Well, Jonathan, I don't know if what's in the works and what isn't in the works. So sorry if you're trying to sneak some information out of me, which I don't have. But I think you're absolutely spot on that if folks are not satisfied with the default situation with AirDrop, you should absolutely let Apple know at apple.com/feedback. I think that's an excellent way to voice your concern, and the solution that you mentioned sounds really nice to me. So I hope folks will submit feedback.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so if there's anyone who hasn't actually submitted feedback, go to apple.com/feedback. Aaron, can you post a link in the chat for that, and submit feedback on things that you haven't seen work the best that they can. Okay, sorry, Gabe, did you have a comment?
Who, me? No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I wanted to just quickly to talk about the meetings coming up. And then, unless there are no other issues, we'll probably go on to our presentation and the speaker today. So the June meeting coming up is going to be an annual return by Rob Pegoraro. And I think Pi members really know Rob well, and this will be the 4th or 5th year that he's been coming to our June meeting. And the only thing is he's been suffering because a tradition of his, he is a journalist who travels to tech conferences. And boy, do you accumulate glam if you do this. So what Rob would do is annually, he would bring his glam to our June meeting and then figure out a way to, he would do a Q&A, and anyone who asked a question got to choose something. I don't think we're going to be in a position to do an in-person meeting in June, but maybe we'll try to enliven a remote way of people kind of claiming glam, and then figure out a way that we can take it out of Rob's closet and send to people. Anyway, that's the June meeting. Coming up in July, Evie Dotsauer is a fellow who gave a wonderful talk to Jerry's group, and is going to be presenting to the Pi, and will be trying to kind of focus on some of the things that he gave a more general security talk about, to things that we think the Pi members would be most interested in. But he's a really dynamic and interesting speaker, so we're looking forward to that. August, I don't think we have marked yet. September, we're so happy that Aaron Davis, who spoke just a moment ago, is going to give his annual September talk about whatever Apple has going then. So we're really looking forward to that. And October is Gary Rosenkrantz of MacMost.
Ah,
And that is going to be a really, really, really dynamic and fun session. For those of you who haven't actually kind of touched MacMost yet, I'm embarrassed that I come relatively recent to this. And I think, Bruce, it was out of your promotion of it, or
yeah, but
Dave,
don't be
or-
embarrassed. It was new. He was relatively new to me too. He and his MacMost website, so don't feel bad. I kind of stumbled across him and his website myself, looking at YouTube videos about the Mac.
Oh, it looks like Aaron already posted a link to that. But anyway, that will be a wonderful session that
We're gonna-
we will have.
Jonathan, we're going to have to be sure to record that one so that people can later play it back and slow it down. I'm kidding, of course, because we normally record every meeting anyway. And he's been asked by YouTube viewers why he doesn't slow down a little bit, or could he please slow down a little bit? But he says, no, that's just my style. I'm sorry, I can't do that. So I don't think we're going to be able have any greater success in slowing him down, but I'm glad he's coming.
Bruce, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I tried to get Gary to come to an ALSIG meeting for a planning session. And instead, I ended up playing one of his videos. And the joke is that out of playing that YouTube video, one of the actual things we talked about, in watching YouTube videos, most of the time you want to speed up the sound to advance through a community meeting that's going a little slow. But with Gary, you can actually slow it down to 3/4 speed or half speed. And I think Pi members might actually want to do that. Ralph?
Jonathan, I found it helpful sometimes, rather than slowing it down, to just listen to it all the way through twice at normal speed. And the second time, it all sinks in and I'm prepared for what he's going to say next. And most of his videos are short enough that it's easy enough to do it that way. The YouTube videos, at least.
Sure. Ralph?
Yes, if you log in, rather than going to YouTube, but log into the MacMost website, you can view his video, and before you start it, he shows you the script of everything he's going to say. And
Right.
so you can review the script before you ever start the video. And then you can pause the video at a certain point and think about what he just demonstrated. And I've been trying to do that with a lot of his videos, and it's immensely helpful. Now, the reason that he's never going to change is he also wants you to subscribe to his courses that he offers. And I don't know if anyone here has taken any courses, because if they have, I would like to hear their opinion of his course. The other question I have is, in a previous Clubhouse, someone mentioned that there is a way to slow down the speech that allows one to comprehend it. If you slow it down, everything, it becomes almost impossible to listen to. So remember, his sessions are typically between 5 and 10 minutes. I don't think any longer. So they're very useful.
That's right. They are mostly, in my experience, 5 and 10 minute videos. Anywhere from 5 to 10, give or take.
Yeah, the other new person that I haven't yet cabined for a meeting is Mark Ellis, Mark Ellis Reviews. He's an English YouTuber that I learned about from attending a London Mug meeting. And he's a wonderful, wonderful fellow. And one of the people who actually had a full-time tech career and decided to go out on his own as a YouTuber. And so it's wonderful listening to him talk about how to do that and not to be kind of consumed by it. Anyway, he's also with his starting a family, and so betwixt and between. So if we're able to get him to come to a Pi meeting, I think you'll all enjoy meeting him as well. Yeah, can somebody post a link to his YouTube page in the chat? I wanted to ask if anybody had any other questions or comments before we move to the next part of the meeting. Okay, failing that, Dan, are you almost ready?
Hi there. Yeah, good to join you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, let me just, Dan Patterson is a CBS News reporter who was introduced to me by Irina Ivanova. Now, I think, do all of you remember the dark patterns presentation? This was, Irina gave us in 2021, I think it was. Anyway, she was nice enough to introduce us to Dan, whose our interest came when he wrote a piece about crypto scams. And I think that it's very timely now to hear from Dan about what the heck is happening with crypto. And in the same fashion, Dan, with our older group, I think it's understating to say that we are skeptical about cryptocurrency.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, without anything more, let me turn the floor over to Dan Patterson. Thanks, Dan.
Well, hi. It's great to join you, Jonathan. It's been nice to coordinate with you. And right, you might hear my dog Fred chirping. He's prowling around downstairs looking for attention.
Well, of course he has opinions, of course.
Right, of course. Right, I am a reporter. I work for CBS News. Of course, I don't speak for CBS News, but I can speak to my experience on some items. No matter how much experience one might have with crypto, it seems like it's infinitely baffling. So I have covered technology and news, kind of the intersection of each, for about 20 years. I worked at ABC News, at a small talk radio organization years ago. There's Fred's tail. Hey, buddy. And some smaller independent blogs, and CBS Interactive for the last couple years. I have reported from conflict regions, and done some investigative reporting about things like migrant smuggling. I was a United Nations correspondent for a couple years. And more recently have done short form video for CBS News based on kind of broad technology trends, cybersecurity, and emerging technology like cryptocurrency. So that's kind of to summarize my career and the context that I bring to technology. I think it can be fascinating and very helpful, but I also think it's there's a lot of danger in technology that is sometimes misapplied. So I hope that helps a little bit with context. And I welcome your questions. If I don't know the answer, and chances are I won't know the answer about a lot of stuff, I'll try to refer you to good people who do. And the stuff I do know about, I'll try to be as informative as possible. I see you are posting questions to the chat. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I was just telling people not to interrupt you, but to post questions in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And that's I'm just summarizing a little bit of my career in the context that I bring here. But what can I be informative on? Can I compare cryptocurrency with a Ponzi scheme? So I think the question is, and that's by Alan Kent. I think the question is cryptocurrency a Ponzi scheme? And strictly speaking, no, it's not. But generally speaking, it shares many of the same characteristics or same traits. You'll also likely hear cryptocurrency compared to like a multi-level marketing scheme, or to different types of different types of scams or schemes. I'm trying to be very specific, but it seems like you can find comparisons to a lot of stuff here. The reason people use pyramid scheme or Ponzi scheme is that the earlier you get in with crypto, the more beneficial to you. And there is a 1-to-1 ratio. And I'm speaking broadly. Let's say most applicably about Bitcoin, but there's a ton of different cryptocurrencies and they all function differently. But the earlier you get in, the more benefit you have, because you're able to acquire at a lower price. And in order for you, because there's a 1-to-1 ratio, in order for you to cash out, you need somebody else to come in. And so there is broadly a lot of incentive for the crypto community to recruit, and sometimes, if not directly or outright say untruths, to kind of skew a lot of facts in their favor. That isn't to say everyone in crypto is a scammer, but it is to say that the environment is ripe for scammers. So it has, sorry to mix metaphors, but it is this kind of magnetic pull to people who might be prone to that. Anyway, so I hope that answers the question a little bit. Let's see. The next question is from Kim Bruno. Today's post has an article about Terra, supposedly a stable coin. What can you add to the post reporting of Terra and the Nationals? Well, I haven't read that story, so I'm sorry, I can't compare it. I can't speak about that. But what and I'm not terribly familiar with Terra, but I know that these so-called stable coins are allegedly backed by they are quote unquote pegged to the dollar. And the way this so-called peg happened is either they have the liquid assets to back that up, like they have the cash dollars, or these so-called algorithmic stable coins make up for that by arbitraging and using algorithms to keep it stable. Now, if that sounds a little gobbledygook, the technology is real, but it is also vulnerable to all sorts of hacks, attacks, and just failure. And it seems like that is kind of what happened at very large scale last week with another stable coin. Let's see, the next question from Tim Childers, and feel free to interrupt at any time. But structurally not like a Ponzi scheme, but in practice, the early adopters must own. Yeah, right. So you're commenting, Tim, on how it might be a Ponzi scheme. And it's I can sit here and read questions and answer, but please feel free to chime in. I'd love to hear. Just reading is somewhat limiting. It'd be great to have a dialogue.
Dan, we can do this in any way that you would like. I'm sure Pi members would love to ask you questions.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
It's hard
let's
to
start
sit
with
and
that.
read and a little impersonal. So let's just
Yeah,
chat.
and so why don't we start with Tim Childers? So why don't you engage Dan about your topic?
Thank you. I am not a expert in this. Like most people, I am curious whether it makes about as much sense as buying gold coins to put under your mattress. Thank you.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking if there is any practical place in the person's portfolio for crypto coins.
Well, I certainly can't be, and I'm not an investment advisor or financial advisor. But I think that, look, crypto is an incredibly risky investment. I don't know that I would call it an investment. Some might. I think that there are perhaps better places to spend your money. But again, it's entirely up to you. I'm definitely not qualified to be a financial
Dan,
advisor.
just taking what you were saying, what is interesting about crypto is I read something that said, well, it's not really a currency. Here's the way it resembles a currency, but it's not really a currency. Here's where it resembles an investment, but it's not really an investment. So it really is something new that borrows from different categories of things we're familiar with, leaving the question of what's its worth and what's its durability, right?
I guess I think you could tack on to that what's its value. I think cryptocurrency is, maybe zooming in a little bit, it is a product of blockchain technology. There are other products that are, some are emerging, some came onto the scene real hot last year. NFTs are another blockchain product. Play to earn gaming is another blockchain product, and cryptocurrency, a blockchain product. You'll hear me say this repeatedly. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know how you should invest your money. I would not invest your money. I choose not to, for two reasons. I'm a journalist. I'm not an advisor. I'm a journalist. But I can't invest in something that I cover. But I have bought and owned small amounts of it and then got rid of it because I have to know, say, the difference between the Decentraland token and Bitcoin and Ethereum. Each one of these things does something very different. And to that end, I have bought small amounts of it, and then got rid of it very quickly. It is not I think that there are too many disincentives for it to be.
And is it true that the US government is looking at something like that?
Yeah, and most businesses are too, as they should. They should explore emerging technologies. Some governments have adopted cryptocurrency. It doesn't seem to have gone very well. It is true that the US government is investigating it, but I think that they kind of have to investigate everything.
So Van Zek is asking, what's the significance of large and well-known institutions like Fidelity beginning to offer crypto?
Well, I think the significance is that they want to make money and they see an investment opportunity, and they're willing to say, we'll manage some crypto for you. They'll probably also tell you it's an incredibly risky investment. The same thing I'll tell you.
And Ken Goldman, do you want to talk to Dan about your question?
Yeah, I don't know if you go into NFTs very much or not. That's I've been hearing about them ever since they first came out, and I've read a lot, I've heard a lot, and to me, it just seems like people are buying very expensive Beanie Babies. There's no there. You're buying essentially rights to something, but it's still available online. I just don't get it. I read someplace at one point the amount spent on NFTs far exceeded what was spent on traditional art in the same period, and actually over a very long period of time. So, you know, maybe it's because I'm almost 70 and I just don't get these things. But to me, it just seems like you're grasping at smoke with NFTs. There's no real there. You know, and I hear about things like the Bored Apes Yacht Club and, you know, all these things set up to deal with NFTs. And to me, it just seems like smoke.
Yeah, I hear you. I think your sentiment, that your feelings are shared by a lot of people. So for those not familiar, the reason I say blockchain products, like think of this as blockchain is kind of the underlying foundational technology, and built on top of that are things like cryptocurrency, NFTs, pay to earn games. So NFTs, yes, allegedly what you are buying is a certificate punched to the blockchain or encoded on the blockchain that, air quotes, proves your ownership of an asset, like an image. But it can be a song, it can be any number of things. But it's also, these things haven't been tested in court, so it's unclear what you own, what you can do with that, the rights, what those rights are. It's all very fuzzy. And just like with cryptocurrency, an NFT is only worth what someone else will pay for it. And we have seen last year in 2021, we saw kind of this explosion of the NFT market. Some of that was authentic, but a lot of that was inauthentic and involved kind of scams that are known as wash trading and others, where, you know, you kind of push the price. People who own one NFT will trade it back and forth and push the value higher and higher. So we saw the market explode, and this year we saw that market cool off. And I think that's maybe the natural trend of blockchain products that are not able to prove themselves in the market.
Bill Wydrow, you wrote about stores accepting cryptocurrency and how that is going to work.
I don't know. I don't see it happen. I mean, when we see it happening, we'll know. It could be through products like Square or Block, which make those, you know, if you've gone to a local coffee shop or whatever, you see those little white readers that will take your card or your phone payment. It could be that and the founder of that, or co-founder and CEO, Jack Dorsey, was the CEO of Twitter. He's a big cryptocurrency and blockchain or Bitcoin fan himself. So it is possible that we see Bitcoin integrated in retail like that, but I really don't know how.
All right, but there are lots of different cryptocurrencies, right? Part of what I'm asking is there one particular one that all these stores and restaurants are accepting? And actually, I'd like to hear you talk just in general about cryptocurrency. If you have some kind of presentation, that would be a nice way to start.
Yeah, and my apologies. Fred is woofing at another dog. Hey, buddy. Hey.
He too is skeptical of cryptocurrency.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry. There are a few questions in there. Which one would you like?
I guess the one on the top of my head is, do you have a presentation?
A presentation?
Yeah, that was our general, and I'm sorry, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying our general format is to have someone talk about a topic and then follow with a Q&A.
Yeah.
This is just a little backwards from our normal format. But what I was asking was, is there a particular cryptocurrency that all stores are accepting? There seem to be different brands
Right.
of them. I don't know
Yeah.
that.
So you're asking what currency might be the most commonly used in a regular retail experience, and I would say probably Bitcoin, but that's not. It's just not happening. It's not being used as a retail product. The way it is being used in a related way is with cybercrime. You know, these ransomware gangs try to extract their ransom, particularly in Bitcoin. That seems to be the dominant coin, but that could all change.
Jerry Berman?
Yes, the question is if you buy cryptocurrency, and I'd like a remark or two on how difficult or easy it might be to buy it and how difficult it might be to sell it. But is it inheritable? And could you leave it to your kids, for example? And what would the tax implications be? Any remarks on that possibly?
I think that's a good question. I think your accountant can probably answer that on particular types of crypto. I'm sure that there is some sort of inheritance law that this might fall under, especially if you've integrated it with your investment portfolio. But I think I think that's a really fascinating question that will probably be tested in the coming years. And in terms of taxes, I think that it's all pretty clear. In fact, the big crypto exchanges like Coinbase will be pretty clear, like, hey, you got to pay your taxes on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Coinbase sends 1099s to the IRS now.
Yeah.
Dan, did you want to talk a little bit about crypto scams?
Well, I can, sure. In fact, for CBS News recently, I looked at kind of the numbers, these cooling off numbers of NFTs, and just wondered why. And when I asked some people in the crypto community, some of the skeptics, they said, yeah, there is maybe some validity to the underlying technology, but it's a little overstated. And there's just so many scams and scammers in the environment. So I asked a lot of different people the common scams, what might somebody most likely encounter? And there are a few. So I'll read off from this article, and you're welcome to read it yourself if you want. I found it's on, if you just do a search for Dan Patterson, CBS News crypto scam, it should come up. But let's go through some of these really common scams. The most common one is called the rug pull. And that's what happens when, an influencer or somebody who's famous on YouTube or well-known in the crypto community will pump up a particular crypto coin, or let's say they'll start what's known as a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. That's another blockchain product, and they'll kind of pump these up to be the next big thing, and then get a lot of people to invest their money into their real dollars into the crypto or the associated blockchain product. And then they will disappear and they'll take the cash with them. There was one, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Squid Game TV show. It was popular last fall on Netflix. And there's one very famous rug pull called the Squid Coin, where at its peak, each one of these tokens was worth $2,800. And it was just based on speculation, nothing more. The founders of this scam raised a ton of cash and then disappeared with the money. Really common scam. Another very common scam is called wash trading, and this goes to maybe some of your questions about NFTs. Part of the wash trading ecosystem is that you get a few investors, and you sell them back an NFT back and forth, each time increasing its price a little bit, which makes it look to the outside world as though there's a lot of interest in an NFT. And you kind of pull in or bait in somebody else to invest a ton of people or to bring in people to the ecosystem. NFT wash tradings in just a small sample size of last year, some of the sources I spoke to said that they made about $9 million bucks from just a small sample of NFTs wash trading. So it shows you the size and scale of that scam. The third most popular scam is called the pump and dump, and that's very much like a stock pump and dump, right? You get a bunch of influencers, you pump up a crypto, you get a lot of people involved, and then you sell off your shares and kind of let people fend for themselves. Those three scams, those are incredibly common right now in the cryptocurrency and NFT scene.
Dan, could you comment on the amount of energy these companies use?
You mean electricity energy?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but yeah, it is significant. I think that this is likely not an ecologically friendly enterprise.
Now, supposedly, Dan, there was an effort by Ethereum to come up with a way to generate a cryptocurrency that wasn't the mining process that has been used so far. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, and I think that if that's the case, it would be revolutionary. It would take over. But there's a lot of overstatement and exaggeration in these communities. So sadly, due to the actions of some bad actors, even if you are a good actor, you gotta put up or shut up.
Do you have a sense, Dan, of whether the different organizations in the states that do consumer protection are following the new generation of scams in cryptocurrency?
So if I understand your question, does the younger generation understand the scams?
No. So for example, in Montgomery County, there's a consumer protection agency.
Mm-hmm.
So are groups like that following this? Did you talk to any of them?
Are groups like who following consumer protection?
Agencies, public consumer protection agencies.
Yeah. So you're asking, are people aware of these agencies?
No, I'm asking whether they are aware of the scams that you're talking about.
Oh, sure. If the agencies are aware. Sorry, it was just hard to understand the nature of the question. Yeah, a number of them are.
Yeah, one thing that Kim Bruno pointed out is the problem with inheritability when the people who inherited don't have the password to the vault. And it's, this actually brings me back to, we've had presentations about password managers, and the password managers present exactly the same thing to the inheritance perspective. And so we've had people, Dan, who give presentations who say, please be sure you include the master password to your password manager in your estate materials, so the people who administer it will be able to access your accounts.
Yeah, it sounds like perhaps smart advice if you trust who you're storing it with or how you're storing it.
Oh, I also wanted to tell you a quick story of where the pie has gotten into NFTs. Well, we haven't actually done it yet. This is intent to do it. Dan, in New York, you wouldn't be familiar with George Mason University, which is a big school in the Virginia suburbs, and is the place that we, before pandemic, always had our meetings.
Oh,
so
nice.
the pie actually endowed a scholarship at George Mason in the tech department. And And
Very cool.
this has given us an opportunity to follow and support the young people who come out of that program. So
Right.
one of our meetings, when we tried to do in November of 2021, do you remember the heady time when we thought we were done with the pandemic?
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a so-called hybrid meeting, and the most recent scholarship recipients had come to the meeting, and I had found in a pie cabinet a defective pie mug, a mug that we had tried to emboss a QR code on, but because of the circular nature of the mug, it didn't work. So at that meeting, where we gave her the mug, we kind of commissioned her to make a 3D version of it to create an NFT, with the whole point of this being
great.
not to actually benefit the pie, but to, on the chance that it worked, to help this young student. So fresh from this meeting, I'll have to ping her to see whether anything has gone along with that. You know, the newer iPhones have a so-called LiDAR camera that make it easier to make 3D images of things. And this is classically something that, you know, Apple decides and implements, and the Android phones have had it for longer. So I yet don't know whether we will go forward with that. Oh, one other quick story, and this goes to the issue that the blockchain is supposed to be so superior to decentralized forms of cryptocurrency, but it takes some time to carry out a cryptocurrency transaction, much longer than in the centralized system. I actually found a subscription for something that I wanted that is a legitimate company that actually accepted Bitcoin as payment. So this was the first time ever from my Coinbase account I was actually going to carry out a transaction. And the surprise to me is that once I launched it, I got a little pop-up that it would take 30 minutes to carry through. So how can blockchain really be a future thing if it's so much more time consuming than the normal old central way of doing it?
That's a good question. You know, the Ethereum blockchain, there are fees associated with this because of the time and limited capacity Ethereum has to process transactions. It asks machines, it asks computers, you and I, or a Coinbase account, for example, to compete. And we pay a fee to compete. And that is what they call a gas fee. And sometimes those can go incredibly high, hundreds or low thousands of dollars in terms of paying a transaction fee. Other blockchains process transactions differently. Sometimes are quicker, sometimes are slower. These are all based on the math problems at their core that blockchains solve. And the value of that is a cryptocurrency token, or to be able to write to that blockchain through a transaction like this. And that just means the process is inherently kind of slow and a little cumbersome.
You know, it makes sense what you say, and it's so, I mean, going forward then, how valuable will be any benefits to the decentralized form of blockchain? You know, it looks like there's so much innovation going there, but you know, if it takes longer to carry out transactions than the old system.
Yeah, it does look like there's a lot of activity there because there is a lot. It is very interesting technology, but when you do, and I'm not an expert on every chain, every coin, or every database function, but I think that if you compare the technologies of what's happening with blockchain tech, there are comps in other technology that maybe don't have the same negatives. I'll give you an example. The blockchain, at least let's say the Bitcoin blockchain, is immutable, unchangeable. It's like a database, right? If you've ever worked with SQL or other databases, even Excel spreadsheets, you know what a database is. It's essentially a blockchain, which with each row and column representing different types of data. And there are some benefits to this functionality, especially the Ethereum blockchain, where each row and column represent data that can be an application. That's really interesting. But that high processing time and energy cost is a downside. It's a negative. And not being able to change what's in the blockchain has a lot of associated negatives. If you could think about any type of transaction, or think about social media, if you can't delete or change a post, Twitter aside, that kind of changes the functionality of social media. What if you were the victim of harassment and there could never be, you couldn't delete all of the inbound hate messages? They would just live forever in a permanent state. That has real negative consequences. So I think that's kind of the long way around the barn of saying that there are some real benefits, and this is real novel technology, but there are some real downsides too.
Ann Zabaldo?
Oh, thank you so much. With this technology, now you're talking to a person who prays every time she opens her computer. So I am definitely non-techie, but yeah, but my understanding of it is, just kind of look at this a little historically, is we're kind of in the wild west of this stuff right now.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to come out of this. We don't know. One thing you really clarified for me is that there are many products that Bitcoin is just one product of this technology. And so one of the things that I saw early on that was really great was, if you had and it's part of this technology, you had a way to secure a signature. You could do real estate transactions all over the world, and 30 minutes wouldn't be such a long time. And I'm sure they'll get that down. And I think it's also true for a piece of artwork. I think of artists who sell their paintings for an extraordinary amount of money when they're starting out, like $20,000, and they can pay the rent and they're all excited. And then 15 years later, it's selling for 1.2 million or 50 million, and they have no way to benefit from that transaction. But if there was some sort of a device that could indicate every time it was sold, they could write a, let's see, what do you call it? I also have a problem with word retrieval. They could have a write that says every time this painting or art, if there's a transaction, I get X% of it, and they would know every time that that happened. So I can actually see the benefit of this. What I don't understand is why there's this mining going on. Like, where are these things hiding, and how come it's so hard to find them? And it takes up massive amounts of electricity, so I just don't quite understand that part, the bricks and mortar of this.
So
did you get all that?
Yeah, it sounds like you've identified some of the potential good uses for blockchain technology. I think what experts and people who are smarter than I, when I ask them the same question, would say that there are already exist mechanisms to, say, track a painting or track a product, that those are potentially good uses for the blockchain, but there are other less energy intensive ways of doing that. And I think that you get to the real crux, the real hard issue with all blockchain technology, and that's that they're energy intensive. So you ask about the brick and mortar, and I think that there are smarter people out there. If you do a Google search for it, Jeff Berardelli, cryptocurrency, CBS News. I know that's a mouthful, but it's Jeff Berardelli, cryptocurrency, CBS News. He was our climatologist, and he wrote a great piece that explains exactly what you asked: the brick and mortar, how the energy consumption of cryptocurrency really works. What I can tell you from a top level is that in order to create crypto tokens like Bitcoin from blockchain is the technology, Bitcoin is the product. In order to create these Bitcoin, written into the protocol are that machines, computers, in order to get a Bitcoin, have to, air quotes, mine. And mining really means solving hard math problems that are baked into the blockchain code. And when they solve enough of these problems, out comes a token that represents a coin, and they get a Bitcoin. So the metaphor is mining, because it's kind of like if you were to go to a rock wall that you knew had gold somewhere in it, and you just chipped away long enough, eventually you might hit gold, or you might not. But the process of solving these math problems is called mining. And that is a very energy intensive process that becomes more intensive as time goes on. The energy cost consumption go up with time. And that is because there is a limited number of Bitcoin coded into the blockchain. It says that there's only a certain number of Bitcoin. And so it becomes harder and harder and harder to get one through mining, because the amount in the wild is decreasing all the time. This is just the process of mining to acquire coins. It also requires energy to store your tokens, to transact your tokens, to engage in any way with the ecosystem also requires energy. But the most energy intensive part of the process is that mining. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. That's the best explanation I've heard. And of course, it arises other questions of, why didn't they just take the 4 million or whatever it was and auction them? So, which would be a lot easier. But I do understand a little, the idea about mining for gold makes it, yeah, and you're correct. How many people in the gold rushes went to get their share of gold and got nothing, so understood how much energy that requires. I wonder if you can just post that.
Probably this.
But it did rain last night.
Oh, but tiny amount, this much.
Everybody stop, please.
I'm wondering if you can just write in the chat, the gentleman's name, it's Jeffrey Fiorillo.
I'll just post a link. I just realized.
Yeah, that's
I'm a
good.
little slow in the
And
uptake.
while you're
realized I
doing
could
that,
post a link.
Dan, Larry Kirschberg, did you have a question?
There you go. I put it in the chat.
Hi, I wanted to comment on why it takes so long for a transaction to go through. It's also part of the mining process that you need a number of computers to agree that this is a valid transaction
Yeah.
before it gets posted to the blockchain.
Yeah.
But I
that's
wanted
actually a
to
great point.
I wanted to issue a correction to what a database is. Blockchain is a distributed database, but when you talk about SQL, it can be centralized or distributed.
True. Yeah.
And I think databases are a lot simpler than what the blockchain is. I thought
Yeah, I was
Anne's
using that
comment,
as an analogy, but yeah.
yeah, Anne's comment is good. Why not just auction them off? That would be too easy. They want to, the inventor of the blockchain We don't know for sure who it is, some Japanese fellow perhaps. What's interesting is that there are a finite number of coins, and eventually they're all going to be mined. But you have companies in China that have computers that generate these, hundreds of computers, thousands of computers running all the time, making a lot of noise, consuming a lot of energy just to get these blockchain coins. And it's a really tough process.
They're running here too, all over the place.
Where are they? Where are you
At
located?
New York State, West Virginia. There are Bitcoin and mining facilities all over the U.S.
In fact, the communities are beginning to complain about the noise,
That's right.
and they want them out. It's not worth it. So they're trying to get more quiet computers.
Dan, I wanted to introduce you to Larry Kirschberg. Larry is one of our Pi board members, and he's a retired faculty member from George Mason, and in fact was instrumental in helping us set up the Pi Scholarship.
Excellent. Well, it's great to meet you, Larry.
Happy to meet you. I'm enjoying your talk. I think just understanding, I think the big vision of where crypto is going, and maybe you could comment a bit on countries that have introduced crypto and how they're doing with it, because I think Ecuador did, and maybe some other countries. And, to run your whole economy on cryptocurrency, that's rather interesting. So I don't understand how it's done.
I think that Argentina, let's see, I am not sure of all countries using crypto. I think it's an interesting experiment. I don't know that I'd make the same bet.
Dan, could you comment on probably the earliest adopters of this were people using it for nefarious activity to avoid banking, money laundering?
Yeah, cyber criminals have really taken to cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, simply because it is a relatively fast way to transact money, and it is kind of perfect for extracting an extortion from a victim. It is not untraceable as the myth would have you believe, but if you use tools like Bitcoin mixers and IP addresses and VPNs to hide your IP address, I think that there is relative pseudo anonymity. So it has really made crime easier to execute at large scale. Crime where there's financial incentive, easy to execute at large scale, which is one reason we've seen this explosion of ransomware in the last 5 years.
But it's interesting because it turns out that the crypto ransom is easier to track than cash and some other forms of payments, right?
That's true. I think it's harder to extract cash without being noticed in large sums. So that's another benefit that Bitcoin might have. But you're exactly right. You can just trace the transactions wallet to wallet on the blockchain. That's not hard at all. Most competent cyber criminal gangs would at least use VPNs, and they would use wallets that were not tied to a real identity. But like most criminals make mistakes along the way, and law enforcement have some pretty sophisticated tools for tracking wallet to wallet transactions.
Jim Landsberg. Jim,
Jim, I think you might be muted.
Oh, sorry.
Here we go. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, okay. There must be literature on this subject. There must be a lot of good books of trying to explain to people like me who know nothing about it, what the fundamentals of it are and how it works and why it's an issue, etc. You got any books that seem like, you know, Idiot's Guide to Cryptocurrency or anything like that?
You know, I am not aware of any books that are dominant in the scene, but I'm searching Amazon right now, and there is Cryptocurrency All-in-One for Dummies and Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies. Might be a good place to start. I think because it is such a complex ecosystem and complex technology, these books probably do a pretty good job. So if you have an Amazon account, they're also easy to acquire.
Okay. No, nothing specific besides the dummies, huh?
I would recommend starting there. And when I say nothing specific, I don't know of anything. There might be something that really marks the territory, but I think cryptocurrency is a new and very fast moving technology, and it's probably hard to write a book without it also needing immediate updates and changes.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Glenn Fleischman wrote a Take Control book on cryptocurrency that was very helpful. Jim, I posted in the chat a link to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a presentation from a woman who works in the coin fund in the industry and talked about all the apps and stuff that she's hatching.
Yeah.
And the joke was, ahead of that meeting, we assigned to all PI members to read the Glenn Fleischman book, so their understanding would be more advanced, for that presentation. As it worked out, she presented so much information that the slideshow in the video of the meeting was more helpful for people than her actual presentation, because they could take it in a little better.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was interesting because she was someone who actually came from the normal finance industry and just was captured. She started out at Ethereum and then went to a coin fund. And it was interesting because it was an indication of how much actual money and finance and industry there is in that field.
But when was that meeting, and do we have access to the video of it, or did we have a copy of it? Recording, I guess I should say.
Oh, I'll look into that and put that out to the Apple Pie list.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that'd be great. Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
It looks like Bill Wydrow, besides El Salvador, the Central African Republic has approved Bitcoin as legal tender. Yeah, you're right, Dan, that it will be, if countries feel like they've been ill-served by the main banking system, maybe this is a bit of a roll of the dice to try something different.
It's a roll of the dice, I think. I mean, how much has Bitcoin lost in the last 3 months, year?
Well, but if they're using it as legal tender, yeah, see, again, this already goes beyond my understanding of how that would actually work.
They might want to.
It's just a very volatile currency, and so it has the benefits and drawbacks of any other very volatile currency.
That's why most countries use gold as the base of their currency, because it doesn't fluctuate as much. Our dollar is based on gold.
Well, it used to be. It isn't anymore.
Right, but I meant initially.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, it was the gold standard.
So, Dan, what do you think your next reporting story will be relating to this, to the field of blockchain and cryptocurrency?
Well, I think related to what is kind of largely called Web3, right? This is what some people are calling the third stage of the internet. Web2 being social media and Google search and these collection of sites that are also apps on your phone. Web3 is the distributed version of that. And wrapped into that is what companies like Meta, Facebook call the metaverse. This is essentially social networks in virtual reality. So much of my reporting this last year has been on kind of the ridiculous hyperbole of that, as well as the stuff that's very human and real about it and could pan out. A little bit about the technology of the metaverse. Virtual reality and augmented reality glasses. We'll probably see Facebook release more VR glasses later this year. We'll see other companies follow them. Google and Apple maybe next year. So this is related to the blockchain because maybe a lot of the currency that you'll use in the metaverse will be cryptocurrency, or some of the artwork or avatars that you use in the metaverse could be NFTs. There are really interesting and some of them scammy, but some of them pretty cool applications for blockchain technology for Web3 when it comes to the metaverse. I think that's where I'll devote my time, my reporting time over the next couple weeks and months.
Like any new technology, I mean, 15 years ago, did we ever think we could pay at most stores with our phones? So now it's passé, and I don't know how many people keep significant cash in their wallets anymore. So maybe cryptocurrency is the next iteration of that.
Yeah, I posted in the chat a link to the blockchain executive who spoke to us back in October 2021. And as I mentioned, Jim, thanks for raising this. I'll find and circulate the video of that meeting. Yeah, she was the, Dan, she was the one who kept talking about Web3 and whetted our appetite for what the heck that was. Cliff Bailey. Hold on. Go ahead, Cliff.
Oh, I thought I'd unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How do we know there's a finite number of Bitcoins or whatever in these things? What is there any way to verify that?
Yeah, it's written into what's called the protocol or the code base, kind of like similar to the source code. The protocol defines how the mechanics of how Bitcoin blockchain functions, and written into that is a finite number of coin.
Thank you.
So can the protocol be changed or not?
It can be forked, altered, but that kind of like the name implies, it creates a different type of blockchain, but it doesn't alter the original.
So that's both the strength and the weakness that you've been talking about, isn't it?
Correct.
Bill Wydrow, did you want to question Dan?
Oh, I was just wondering if there were other applications of blockchain technology besides currency. For instance, in keeping track of inventory or other uses of that technology for tracking things.
Yep, there's certainly that. That is where I say that that blockchain technology is analogous to databases. We can use databases to do the same things. The benefit and drawback of blockchain is that it is unchangeable. So if a mistake happens, that mistake is reflected in the blockchain no matter what. But it also means that it would, in theory, make it harder for fraud to happen along, say, a supply chain. If a product or a component is stamped onto the blockchain,
I guess I should try to color it.
Every step of the shipping process, it's verified. Then that has a ton of potential uses to help verify the authenticity of a product. Old friend of mine is doing this with coffee in Los Angeles. He has a particular type of coffee, and they use blockchain technology to kind of verify that it is their coffee being sold in retail stores and elsewhere. Really interesting use. But when we talk about products, that's where I mean NFTs. That's another use of blockchain technology. Pay to earn games. That's another use of blockchain technology. And I think that a lot of people in blockchain, the advocates, will say that, hey, it's early days and we will invent interesting and new applications for it. Just give us some time.
Could you talk about the pay to earn games? That's not something that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so pay to earn or play to earn games are games that use blockchain technology, kind of like Pokemon. There is a game called Axie Infinity, and these are structured very similar to pyramid schemes. The earlier you get in with these and the better assets you have, the stronger, in this case. Think of these as card games, or they call them axies, but these creatures that battle each other, and the stronger creatures are worth more. And the earlier you got into the game, the more likely it is that you have valuable or strong creatures or cards or assets to play in the game. So newer players either have to pay a lot to get to the same level or play a lot to get to the same level, which means if you want to earn your way in without paying your way in, either you buy a set for, say, $200 or $500 or $1,000, or if you can't afford that, you play a lot, and you earn a little bit each time. And these games advertise that you can potentially cash out and put that real money in your bank account. But the reality is that that's just not happening very often. So maybe that might happen in the future. It's not happening right now with these games.
Yeah, so if Pi members have other questions about this, well, I wanted to turn it to something that you had said before about future reporting. For a while going back, the iPhones and iPads could download AR apps. So, when we had a meeting about this, I found a fun dancing skeleton, an AR dancing skeleton to advert, the meeting. And then in one, before the pandemic, when we had one that was an airplane flying. And so people took turns, flying it around the room. But I think, is this something that you're going to pay close attention to, of what the real world uses of this AR and VR technology?
Yeah, I'm following this pretty closely. I think that's a lot of what this conversation is, right? The real world uses. It sounds like that is, if I were to sum up your questions and mine as well, it sounds like everybody kind of wants to know, what is this stuff and how can we use it? I think that when it comes to the next level of AR and VR stuff, I think that has been hyped so much, so widely, and there's been billions literally sunk into it by companies like Meta, Google, Apple, and others, that really interesting. Even if it flops, that's interesting too. I don't really have a stake in the game. And I think that's part of what being a reporter is, that I should be skeptical, but not closed-minded. And that's what I try to be with cryptocurrency, with NFTs, pay to earn, metaverse, all of these emerging technologies.
Yeah, it's been true for some time that it actually has real world functionality. If you have an IKEA app on your phone or your pad, and you want to buy an IKEA table, that you can try it out in the space that you want to use. And on the fly, you can, if it fits, buy it and have it shipped. That seems to have real world application.
It does. I don't know that there's a ton of people doing that, but I think that's pretty cool. I've done that.
I wanted to let people know that for the Pi attendance tool, where I'm going to shut it down soon to generate the door prize for our meeting. So please sign in if you haven't yet.
Hey, Jonathan, I got a question. Does that, I have an app on my iPhone and I use that to sign in. I mean, to respond to membership. Is that still valid, or do I need to use your link?
Sorry, who was that?
Jim Lambert. You hear what I said? My question?
Jim, it looks like you are signed in.
I'm not signed in, but they're responding to your membership. They're responding to your questionnaire about whether I'm attending.
Yes.
The map. The app. So that's
Yes.
still valid. I don't need your link.
Yes, you are signed in, Jim.
Okay. All right.
Dan, what kind of dog do you have?
He's a pure mutt. He's a good guy. We did a DNA test and they said he's like 12% everything. So definitely a rescue. Let me ask you folks, if let's say this fall or very soon, a major technology company releases AR, VR, let's call it mixed reality glasses. Would you wear them? Would you buy them? This would be stuff that, let's say you're doing this meeting, the Pi meeting is in Zoom, but let's say it is in VR where you have avatars and you're sitting around a virtual table and you can see things in 3D and you can interact in the virtual space. How many of you would be interested in that? Is it a no-go for you? Is it a maybe, let's see?
Hey, everybody, use the Zoom reactions to do a quick poll about this.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that this technology is very intriguing, but I don't know that I would. I wear glasses, and I have a Facebook headset right here. So this is kind of big and bulky, but when you put it on, it's like entering another world. So, is that attractive? If it works, this works pretty well.
It looks like you only have 2 takers in our group, Dan.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's for me, but let me send you a video.
Oh no, we have a few more takers.
Let me send you a video of what I shot with a colleague, a video package that we did inside this metaverse. Here, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, so it looks like a sprinkling of people in our group today were favored your idea of that. And one good thing while you're doing it, Dan, is that in our Pi group, we have several meetings a week and a month, many of which are less structured than this one. And so in one of them, we'd almost certainly want to try that.
Sure, right. I can understand this is a large and tight knit group of people. I can imagine the benefits of saying, hey, let's meet up in VR instead. And there's strangely, even though it's an inhuman experience, there's something very human about it. I think about the time I spent with a colleague of mine, a reporter colleague of mine, where we were producing this story and we wore these headsets every day. And I don't really have memories of sitting here in front of my computer. My memories are of walking around in this virtual space with my colleague producing a video, the video that you're watching now. So I'm a skeptic of this. I'm a pretty big skeptic, but I think it's compelling.
Some museums are doing that, where you can tour, or the caves at Le Havre, where human interaction is having a deleterious effect. That's what they've resorted to.
Yeah. Seoul, South Korea is adding a metaverse environment. So if you have to do, say, municipal chores, or you have to pay a bill or something, you can do it in here.
Well, I wanted just to announce that Diane Marcus is the winner of our door prize for the meeting. So congratulations, Diane.
Wonderful.
Oh, Diane, I wanted to mention that this week, I think we're probably offering a couple things for the door prize. One is our traditional $25 Apple gift card, and the other is an AirTag, an Apple AirTag. So offline, Diane, you can let me know which of these you would prefer, and we'll either send you a virtual gift card or an actual AirTag, okay?
Thank you.
So, Dan, while we're nearing the end of our interaction with you today, I wanted to offer you a pie mug.
Oh, that's great.
So offline, if you send me a snail mail address, we will spirit to you a pie mug, and ask in return only that you take a picture, a selfie of you with the pie mug that we can send around to our pie members.
You bet. You know, your site is great, and it's just been fantastic interacting with you. I wanted to ask you, I mean, you are a community of Apple, ostensibly Apple users, but it seems like you're drawn together by so much more. And I'm curious how the origins of your group, how long you've been together, the types of topics you've talked about. This seems like such a great group.
Well, Dan, that's so nice of you to say. Yeah, the Pi has been around since 1978.
Cool.
And you know, in the early days, I don't know, Dan, do you know of Walt Mossberg? He wrote for the Wall Street Journal for many years.
Yeah, for sure.
So Walt was an early Pi member, and he's come back periodically.
That's great.
He actually did a testimonial that's on our YouTube page, because what he talks about is in the early days, the only way you could actually get software or programs was going to a meeting where somebody had them.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
he tells the story of how he got his start with the Pi. Anyway, if you roll the tape forward, we've been really fortunate to have a wide range of really interesting presentations. Last month, we had a community member who lives in Cameroon and Silver Spring. And she's an entrepreneur and talked to us about really her life story and all about the challenges for young people and particularly women to start businesses in Africa and what she did also in the US. Before that, we had a woman who wrote about antibiotics and the abuse of antibiotics going back. This is Marin McKenna, who wrote a book called Big Chicken. I don't know if you've heard of that. And she actually traced the history of the agriculture antibiotic use and what the impact of that is. So that was a really interesting session also.
That sounds great.
We've been enlarged, Dan, by our the ability, the remote meetings, to have people that we wouldn't have been able to come to the to the actual meetings. So it's worked well for us.
I was going to ask how the pandemic shaped or changed the group, and it seems as though maybe in a positive way, or at least allowed more people to join.
Do you know, it's interesting because I think we're facing the same dynamic as many other groups, which is coming into our PI meetings have been people who we long lost because they moved out of the DC area from the actual meetings.
Yeah.
And so it's been wonderful. Is Tim Childers still here? So he, we have a good group of such people. And Lord knows, my brother Joel from Connecticut, with all of his views on crypto. So the remote meetings have enabled this. But at the same time, one of the things that a lot of our PI members prize were coming to actual meetings where somebody could sit next to them and show them how to do things.
Yeah.
And so there are enough people, if you have a hardware problem, then you bless being able to come to a meeting with Bruce Brown to show you how to take the hard drive out of your ages-old Mac and how to either zero it out or be able to use it, on another device. So I think the struggle for us is to keep the remote meetings going, but at the same time, go back to some of the in-person meetings that some of our members really like.
Yeah. And there's nothing like that type of community to bring a group together and find other common interests. And I boy, I can really see the benefits of being able to talk about a really pristine piece of technological history with other people who appreciate and understand the technology and the surrounding context.
Yeah, so Ann Zabaldo really in the chat really appreciates you coming, and she wants you to join our club.
Well, likewise, I appreciate you you asking me, and I appreciate what your club does. It's cool stuff.
Does anybody have any last questions for Dan? We want him to leave our meeting and go work on Web3 and the AR/VR stuff. And we'll look forward to following you, Dan, and your reportorial exploits.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Cool. Take care. I'll sign off now.
Well, everybody, can you think of anything else we want to pulse our members for? Or let me try this. What do you think of a meeting where instead of a presentation, we start with the Q&A with the presenter? Do you so respond in reactions to whether you like this, don't like this, or is there a reaction for not really?
You finished the cheddar cheese yesterday? I don't remember.
So Julie, do you have a comment?
Yes, I was a little bewildered at first But I feel that Dan's warmth and then the questions, it turned out to be very fruitful discussion. I also did a little homework on Ask Dr. Google on some of the things NFTs and blockchain to get a. So there's no harm in taking initiative oneself for what one doesn't know, and I find this was far more satisfying than I thought it might be at the very beginning. And I do have another question that I thought of. I'll save it to give other people a chance to respond to the immediate question.
Oh, Ann Zabalda, did you have another comment?
I did, but as is normal for me, I've already forgotten it. So yeah, remember. You know, as a friend of mine said, I'm going to start using this. I had a thought. It took 2 laps around my brain and then, you know, exited. So yeah.
Well, keep that thought. Jim Landsberg?
I never have that. I always have it right here in my head all the time. Well, it seems to me that you got to take what you get when you get people in these various subjects and do the best you can with it. I think the more they know about our group and about the kinds of things where we would normally be interested in, the better. But I think getting people to come in itself is not easy to do, and it's a tribute to you guys running on the executive board and yourself, Jonathan. You get people who are very, very knowledgeable on their subject.
Past the burning on my tongue.
Sorry, Diana. Diana, did you have a comment?
No.
Maybe not.
No, I'm sorry. Am I off the? I thought I was muted.
Oh, well, let me mute you and then you can come back if you want to say something, okay?
I have a comment. It's especially useful, the format we just had, when the speaker doesn't have a 10-minute presentation.
Yeah, this has to be at my step, because in every interaction I had with Dan, what I mentioned was presentation. So it surprised me a little now that he didn't seem to have a presentation. And all I can say is, you know, they say that communication is only successful if both sides share the same. And plainly he didn't, so that has to be me.
The most difficult thing of communication is the illusion that it has occurred.
I just think we should mix it up sometime. What's the matter? What's the matter here? I mean, the guy came on, did a really great job, and you know, he didn't have a PowerPoint presentation. I think this is great. So let's mix it up some more.
Well, the last thing let me say clearly that when a speaker comes to us, they don't need to use Keynote or PowerPoint. Traditionally, for example, next month, Rob Pegoraro, rarely does he use extra content. He usually just talks to us. So it's not a requirement that you do that. But the expectation is that you would actually have some sort of talk. Anyway, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. And I'll send Dan a pie mug. So hopefully you'll be seeing his smiling face again at some point. Whether we'll get him to actually join the pie, I think, is probably a different point. Julie, did you have something to add? Julie? Maybe not.
unmute. I'm sorry. I believe I was mixed up in my prompt. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My question goes back to the AirDrop discussion at the very beginning of the meeting. Is there a settings search function on the iPhone? I wanted to turn off or change Do Not Disturb. It's under Focus now, but I ended up going on Apple support or something off the machine, and then the issue of settings on AirDrop, I have no idea where to locate them.
Julie, the most useful function is that if you go into settings on your iPhone, and you just pull down from the top of the page, you'll see a search field.
Oh.
I use that all the time to find things.
Oh, I usually don't see that high up. Good. So I'll do AirDrop.
Type in AirDrop and you'll go right to you'll have two choices or so, and you can go right to the page.
Sounds in general. Bless your hearts. Thank you. And I say, Jonathan, don't feel disconcerted. Maybe Dan felt that your word presentation meant presence, that he would be part of the meeting. But as I say, it did work out. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, Julie. Okay, so it looks like we have our door prize winner. Does anyone have any general tech or other comments or questions before we recess today? Len, is that you?
That's me, but I'm unknown for some reason. Okay, with the iPhone, somehow I wasn't getting messages from someone who was supposed to call me. He called yesterday, and he said, I can't leave you a message. I'm not able to leave you a message. So that goes back to what do I need to adjust? What did I inadvertently set on the phone that it won't take won't accept a message, verbal or text?
Did it used to?
Yes.
I think this is Len. Go to settings on your phone, and then go to the phone app. Scroll all the way down to the phone app.
That's at the settings. Let's go here.
And in the phone app, if you scroll down, you'll see a setting for silence unknown callers, and that might be one thing amiss, or not amiss, but
okay.
Oh, Ken Goldman is leaving. Ken, thanks so much for coming to our meeting today. Yeah, Ken says vote early and often.
Sometimes it takes a little time for messages to come across, even though my messaging system is open and up to date. It's not instantaneous.
Right.
I think part of the question is it the issue where only he cannot leave a message, or is it that no one can leave a message?
Yeah. Well, my wife tried calling me, and she couldn't leave a message either.
Okay, and I would assume that your wife is not blocked.
Right.
So the unknown number is not so much the issue as it is whether or not you have something else going on with your voicemail. Now you said, can your wife send a text to you but not leave a voicemail?
I don't know, but she couldn't leave a message.
What, when you say leave a message, what do you mean by leave a message?
I mean, you
A
know,
voicemail.
the default announcement came on that, you know, I wasn't accepting messages.
Okay, so that
Try
might be,
rebooting your phone.
I did.
but that might be something specifically with how you have your voicemail configured.
Well, I'm taking a look. I really appreciate it. It's so wonderful to get this kind of support when needed.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes, Ann.
Did you post, how do I get to vote? Is there a way to do that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the link is going to go out to all the Join It
Oh.
members.
Got
If not tonight, then tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. And I also agree, vote early and vote often.
Fergie?
Yes, I have a quick question. How do I connect a DVD player to a iPad? I have a DVD player connects to my computer with a HDMI on both ends, but the HDMI has a HDMI connector for my iPhone.
Patrick Corrigan.
Are you dongle full, Fergie? Do you have a lot of dongles?
Hold on for a minute.
Dongle? What's a dongle? I don't think so.
I got to turn off my volume.
Because you need something that will plug into Lightning on your iPad, right?
Yeah, do they have a cable with an HDMI on one end and a Lightning on the, not Lightning, it's a C drive on the other?
Right.
iPad.
Right,
You
you
can
can
on
get-
that and
you
have
can get
HDMI on my DVD player.
You can get a hub that would have a HDMI plug that you can plug right in. And the other end of the hub is a USB-C.
That's all I need is a hub.
Right.
I have, no, I have hubs, but don't have an HDMI on it though.
Well, yeah, you'd need something that would give you an I think Apple sells one of those. You could get one, you know,
Do you have cables?
$49.95.
and HDMI on the other? Do cables exist? Lightning on one end and C on the other end, you know, things like that.
Yeah, it's the Apple connector would do that, but I have a small hub from, I don't know what company, that has HDMI, has USB, and has a card reader also. So you need something. You have to look around, see what will give you that connection from HDMI to USB-C.
I might have one. I got all kinds of stuff. Okay.
You might have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I might.
Good luck.
I got all kinds of stuff.
Van, did you have a comment or a question?
And as Zabaldo said, it was okay for you to send her ballot to me.
Oh, yeah, I think we missed Raju. Raju was also on the ballot, but I think he left, so I wasn't able to recognize him.
I have a question. If
Yes,
we have-
Diana.
My friend gave me a rather cool little solar charger that was intended to be used with my phone. But the connection is not a lightning connection. It's one of those little micro or mini USB things. I asked at Micro Center if there was any kind of an adapter that would convert that kind of connection to a lightning. And their conclusion was no. Does anybody in this club have a different answer? Is there one? Guess not, huh?
Anybody?
So, I mean, I've told my friend at this point, it was a birthday gift, that I hope she can find somebody else to give it to. And she might have somebody else, but I thought I'd, ask one more time in case somebody around here knows of a way of an adapter that would work for that.
Okay, save that question. Bill Wydrow?
Yeah, about a month or so ago, I found a way to have my phone answer with the speakerphone. Okay, when I picked up a call, it would automatically go on to speakerphone. I thought that would be a neat idea, and now I don't. I want to turn it off and go back to have it just call normally, and I can't figure out where in settings or anywhere to go back and turn that feature off. I've checked in accessibility. I've looked under the iPhone parts of the setting. I can't find it. I'm about to call Apple for help with that.
It's hard for me to clean off the table with your computer.
Yeah, I assume it would be somewhere in the in the phone settings. No, so it looks like we're coming up empty there, but we'll log these two questions.
I think that might be an accessibility issue. I did a quick search. I'm not sure, Bill. Let me just give me one more second. This is Van.
Sure.
This is
I looked
Van.
in accessibility too, and it may be there. I just didn't recognize it.
Well, I don't know. I have a link. I can put a link in the chat, but it's I'm not sure this will answer the question, but at least it's a place to start.
Okay.
It's talking about answer calls on iPhone and automatically answer.
Thanks, Van.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it looks like Van posted a link in the chat. Call audio routing. So it's under accessibility touch.
I don't know if that's the answer. It was the first thing I landed on.
Yes, it is. It's accessibility, Bill. And then under accessibility, it's touch. So accessibility touch, and then at the bottom, it's call audio routing.
Done.
Good. And now I know something that I didn't know before. So thanks, Bill.
Okay.
I just want to report to everyone at the onset of the meeting, I just checked my AirDrop and I had everyone checked. So I switched to contacts.
When Rob Peguero comes to talk to us next month, one thing I'll remember to mention to him is that he was the one that I think first alerted us, or me, to this problem, because through his network, he had learned of people who had gotten, how shall we say, things they didn't want to get through this way. And that's what first put us on the idea of trying to cabin this, to set it differently.
My experience is most people don't even know how to use it.
Joel, let me tell you the story that when Linda and I traveled up to you and then New York on the train, and I'm just sharing a file between my phone and my iPad, and I turn on AirDrop, and I saw a dozen different phones around me ready to accept this. So that's what actually reminded me of this. And the problem is I'm not kind of good enough or organized enough to have on my document a how-to screenshot that I could send everyone to say, here's how to turn it off.
So you're thinking that a really good public service would be to get a screenshot, which you just saved, and whenever you're in a public transportation, you just send that to everybody that's accessible to you. I think that's a great idea. Well, it's certainly, although someone would probably view it as objectionable material, but that's another story.
It's this thing that you have to just keep a pulse on of wanting to fix every problem, and not every problem can be fixed that way. But in our group, at least, we can arm people who are going to increasingly use public transport about this. Yeah, the funny thing is, Joel, that in the pre-pandemic days, in the non-travel days, we showed PI members how to turn on AirDrop for everyone so that in a physical meeting, we could share things. Right. So that was a heady non-security time.
So I have a question about that thing about the guys sending sending things to people using AirDrop on the plane, and they grounded the plane. Since they allow you to use your phone now, even when takeoff and landings, and people use their phones all the time, what was the AirDrop? Why was it interfering with the plane's navigation system or whatever? Was the pilot also getting messages from him?
What he sent was
It wasn't.
pictures of crashed airplanes.
Gabe, go ahead, Gabe.
He sent pictures of crashed airplanes, and that was interpreted as a threat.
Well.
Oh my God, I can see that, absolutely.
So it was clearly malicious. It was not just an idle sharing of something that people misinterpreted. It was clearly intended to be malicious and was taken that way.
Maybe if he had shown some wrecked trains, it would have been okay.
Van, did you have something to add?
I was going to say what Gabe said.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Len?
Placing an early version of Apple Play, and because it doesn't work anymore. And a friend of mine said it's because it's because the internet has gotten faster and faster, and so I started looking for new TV sets, which I don't really want to buy, which have access to AirPlay, and it's amazing how many sets now say on the carton. Like I was in Walmart yesterday, and a lot of them say, equipped for Apple AirPlay. So I wonder if anybody has experience with that and how it's worked. Which means,
yeah, that's Len. I think that's called AirPlay 2. AirPlay 2 is when it's built into a smart television. Van, and then Gabe.
Go ahead, Gabe, because I'll just say ditto after you talk.
Okay, Gabe.
You're taking a risk when you make a promise like that. But what I was going to say is that I have a smart TV, which I treat as a very dumb TV. I use it just as a TV, and I plug things into it like a Roku or an Amazon Fire TV stick. And that means that if protocols change, if I want to change services, I replace a $25 or $30 device rather than having to worry about my formerly smart TV, which has fallen behind the technology. Another reason for that is that I don't see any reason my television set should be online reporting who knows what to who knows whom, versus having devices like Roku where I can at least understand the risks.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gabe, because Len, one thing that I think hasn't come of age yet is real privacy and security for the smart TVs. And it may come, but things that we've read suggest that it hasn't yet. So Gabe is being cautious, but reasonably so, to not take advantage of these features and to wire it or to a device that he treats more. Van,
I've been places where somebody was trying to use a smart TV, and the TV was being ornery and uppity, because in order to be a smart TV, it has to be a computer. And so that means that somewhere inside it's running Linux, and a computer is just going to be more problematic than a television set being a TV.
Van, and then Larry Kirschberg.
I think being careful of that is a good, a wise advice. I tend to not have my smart TV always connected to the internet, but every once in a while you need to update it. And I think it's useful for the features in the TV to update it. So my approach is that every so often I will in fact let the TV connect to the internet so it can do whatever updates it needs to do, and then disconnect it again. That prevents it from doing any real-time reporting or anything like that when that's not necessary. It's just a little, not quite as conservative as Gabe, but I think in some cases I want to keep the software and the TV up to date. So that's the way I approach it.
Thanks, Van. Larry?
Yeah, I use AirPlay because sometimes you may have program on your iOS device that you don't have access to on your TV, and you want to stream it, and it works perfectly. And I would also recommend that you attach your TV, if you have an Apple TV device, attach that to HomeKit. And so your TV is monitored by HomeKit, and so I think you have that extra level of security. But I think Gabe should get a new TV. That's all there is to it. They're so cheap now. And you realize that you have a TV on your laptop. You have Apple TV Plus. You can stream there too. So, you have a TV on your iPad. You don't have to sit in front of a TV to watch programs. You can get a streaming video, like I use Direct Stream from AT&T, and it works perfectly. It's very good.
Gabe?
I would just quibble with something that Van said, and obviously this is something that is a very individual decision, but he mentioned that his TV needs to go online. My TV is now 2 or 3 years old, and once or twice a year it whines that it pines desperately to go online to be updated, and I just tell it to continue being a TV set, and it works just fine. So it does not need to be updated. It would love to be, but it doesn't need to be.
Gabe?
Wait, one more. And for Larry's point of playing something from your iOS device on a TV, an HDMI cable works just fine for that.
I love the fact that you can be remote without having any wires. You just use AirPlay. It's just a matter. I'm not that concerned about security. We know that it doesn't really exist, and privacy doesn't really exist. So what's the big deal? I guess I'm being devil's advocate on that, but I think that being wired is something that used to be cool, but is not really necessary anymore. You may feel better because you have more control over your devices, but it's a matter of choice.
It's all, Larry, you bring up a good point, because everything is a balance between convenience and security. And some of us may orient more toward one side and more toward the other.
Right. So that's the beauty of these devices. You can have it both ways.
Yeah, we actually, in our house, Larry, all the time, my wife has content on her phone, or I have content on my pad that we want to put on the TV, and it works easily and well.
Yeah, and sometimes you're on YouTube and you want to project it on the big TV. And it's much easier to search on an iOS device than it is to type in an antiquated interface on the TV.
So who uses interesting streaming services? This is something that we'll probably devote a whole meeting to. Larry, what streaming services do you use?
Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, DirecTV Stream, which comes over the internet, and they also have a box that you can attach using an HDMI cable. And the box is very good because you can also record for $10 a month more. You can record an infinite number of programs and keep them as long as you like. So if you're into TV, that's certainly very good, and you can get Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all of the talking head shows are available to you. And so I hate commercials. I can't sit through commercials. And so you can, with a DirecTV box, you can stream and then just skip every 30 seconds until you get the program again.
Thanks, Larry. Sorry, Larry, you had background coming that made it hard to hear you. Van?
Jonathan, I have an answer for you, but I want to refine the question. When you say services, do you mean devices, or do you mean actual services such as Disney Plus and
Right,
all that?
Streaming services, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, in addition to the ones that have been named, we don't have Disney Plus. We have Apple TV Plus, Acorn, BritBox, and one subscription channel underneath Amazon Prime, which is PBS Masterpiece.
Oh, that's an interesting one, PBS Masterpiece. Bill Wydra?
Yeah, I have Xfinity, and we often travel to my wife's family place in around Lexington, Virginia. And I was thinking, oh, great, that you're supposed to be able to travel with Xfinity and stream it wherever you are. So I use my Apple TV, and I can watch programs from my Maryland account here on the TV down in Virginia, except there are some caveats. If you try to watch some sports games, football games or whatever, I found that a message will come up, you must be in your home to watch that particular game. Okay, it won't show it if I'm down in Virginia. And the same thing, other networks or TV shows seem to have agreements individually with Xfinity that two things happen. Either I cannot show them at all on my computer or TV down in Virginia, or I can watch a show on my computer, but I try and put it through Apple TV onto the TV, and everything goes black. My computer screen goes black and the TV goes black. Something in there is blocking me from transferring the program to the TV. So I was crossing my fingers. I would not have to buy any other TV services. I could just use Xfinity in both places, and there are just too many caveats to it.
that brings up a good point, Bill. And this is something that all of us can pay attention to, that if your ISP provider provides access in your plan to certain streaming services, then you don't need to separately subscribe to them through, for example, your Apple account. And that's a good feature, for customers to take advantage of. Gail?
Oh, yes, I just wanted to add, I, for instance, get Netflix through Xfinity. I mean, it's included in their package.
Mm-hmm. Gail?
Yeah, I was thinking that possibly could be some type of a monetary type caveat. Maybe they don't want you to stream any place else to give it to some other people. It might be some type of a subscription type thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think, was that addressed to you, to Bill?
To anybody, whoever answered it. I was with the subscription, you can't stream it only from your home or stuff like that. It might be some type of a subscription problem.
I've tried
like monetary.
I've tried to watch Amazon Prime baseball game, and it said not available in your area. Connecticut is close enough to New York.
With respect to sports, it's almost always a licensing or local blackout or issue.
Even though on my newspaper it says available on Prime.
Right.
That's kind of thing I was thinking about, some type of a subscription type thing, where you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
And basically with sports, it's very big monetarily. They get a lot, you have to pay for a lot of stuff.
You do, and this is a bit of an unholy alliance between the ISPs and the cable companies to enforce the restrictions like this.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious if anyone subscribes to the YouTube TV service and how you feel about that. It offers 85 channels for their basic level service.
I used to have YouTube TV, and I found it cumbersome, and I switched to AT&T Direct Stream, and I find that to be better. And ironically, the box that I have for Direct TV is made by Google, has the Google software running in it. So, but I would recommend you have a look at DirecTV Stream. Maybe you can try it for a day or two and see what you think.
Larry, could you post a link to that in the chat, please?
Okay, let me look for that. Hold on.
Thanks. Sorry, Gail, did you have another? No. Okay.
I'm just turning off my hands. That's all.
So
I would say one thing. The only thing I have is basically Prime and Netflix.
Prime and Netflix. Mm-hmm.
Basically, the only thing I watch is basically movies.
Yeah, the one interesting feature of Apple TV Plus is that you find a program or a movie that you want to watch, and if you select it, sometimes it bounces you to another service that you might or might not have subscribed to.
Yeah.
I wonder if, Rob Pegoraro has covered a lot of the so-called cord cutting of people who don't no longer have cable TV coming from their ISP, but only streaming. And one of the issues always has been that if you're not careful, you may save money by doing that, but spend more money by the streaming services that you subscribe to. Van?
I just thought of another one that I don't know if people are familiar with, something that is a pretty good deal, actually, depending on what you're likely to otherwise contribute. It's called PBS Passport. And if you make a contribution to a PBS channel, I think the threshold is $60 a year or above. I see heads nodding. Then you have access to PBS Passport. And that's a streaming service, that's a PBS streaming service, which oftentimes allows you to stream maybe an entire PBS series, whereas otherwise you'd have to wait for 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 weeks for it to play out. So it's a PBS streaming service, and it's included if you have an annual contribution to a PBS station of $60 or more.
So Van, is there an Apple TV app for that or?
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We access it through, well, we access all of this stuff through an Apple TV. And that includes the PBS channel, it includes the Netflix and all the others. So yeah, you can get to it through your Apple TV. And for most shows, it actually integrates well with the Apple TV, and that it keeps track of what you've seen and what the next episode is and that kind of thing.
Oh, one tip I'd suggest with this ever-changing thing of streaming apps is that in the settings for the Apple TV, if you go to settings and then apps, it would be useful to hide the apps that you aren't subscribing to anymore or don't want to subscribe to, because otherwise it's a bit of a trap for the unwary, that you're scrolling around and, oh, how about this one? And anyway, it can be useful to only keep live on the Apple TV screen the apps that you're currently subscribed to. So I think this streaming topic is one that we'll bring up at another meeting. It seems like a pretty rich topic.
I agree with Van on the Passport. I use it myself and get access to a number of other shows that I normally wouldn't see.
Yeah, PBS Passport. Thanks for mentioning that, Van.
Yeah, just one comment about that. I do contribute to PBS, but being an upper echelon senior, I have to take required minimum distributions. And if I do that through my financial institution, make the contribution to PBS, I don't get access to the Passport that you would if you did not use that service. Actually, I did call a PBS number and talk them into giving me access, explaining that that's how I made my contribution.
Does it seem like maybe they just haven't caught up to that yet, Bill?
Yeah, I think it's just their databases may not be coordinated between a normal contribution in which they would automatically send you access information and connecting it to their whatever office it is that accepts the RMD payments.
They're trying to link it up through an email address, is my understanding. And if a contribution comes directly to them with providing your name, for example, they might not have any email address, or they might not have the one that would be associated with how you'd want to sign up for Passport.
I think we want to wind up the meeting. It looks like people have voted with their feet already. Thanks to everybody who is left, and we'll send around the chat for this meeting and a couple of other things that I promised. And so thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks to everybody.
Nice to meet
Thank you.
everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
So do you see that my hand is up because I'm waving? This is the Zoom setting to enable that. So
Oh.
it's hilarious that it worked just when at the end. So thanks, Len. And Len, the way you can rename yourself when we allow this in the meeting is to, in participants, select yourself and pull down at the 3 dots and click rename. Oh, hold on.
Zoom subscription, and I do it that way. I mean, when I need to do it, I take the letters away from my professional name, and that's it. But that's about Zoom. I could do a meeting on Zoom. But anyway, goodbye.
Thanks, Len. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Very good meeting.